From a villainous hideout on the moon to the community center in Angel Grove, all the way to the mysterious command center, you're listening to Mighty Morphin Podcast Rangers, where we cover everything from TV to movies and comics.
Welcome to another episode of Mighty Morphin Podcast Rangers. As always, I'm your host, Adam, and with me is my co-host, Nick. Nick, how's it going?
Happy to be back as always, brother. Happy to be back. How are you doing, sir?
I'm doing quite well, actually. It's pretty good so far. The
Nice.
tail end of summer,
Yeah.
and it's always this is always a fun time of year because it's the anniversary of the debut of the first ever episode of Power Rangers, which was 30 years ago. Long time ago, and just saying that number makes me feel real old, but
Before my time, or a little bit before your time.
no, it was
Right around your time.
I was 10, so
Yeah, right
9
around.
going on. Wait,
Yeah.
hold on, wait a minute. Yeah, I was 10. Yeah.
Yeah, you had to been 10.
So yeah, it's a long time ago, but it's a very special anniversary, and so we thought, what better time to do a Power Rangers episode than on the 30th anniversary, or around the 30th anniversary. We already talked about, what the brand and the show meant to us on a previous episode, so we won't rehash that. But as we do on every one of the podcasts that we do, when there's news about whatever we're talking about, we discuss it and share our opinions on it. And there's kind of ancillary Power Rangers news. It'll affect Power Rangers anyway in some form, so it's worth talking about. Recently, Hasbro sold off E1, which was their entertainment division that they had purchased, to Lionsgate. And I remember the day that was announced. Yeah, a lot of people on my Twitter feed, I'm not going to say everybody because Twitter, the algorithm and, it's the hashtags and all that, so that works. But people on that I was seeing on my feed that are Power Rangers fans, some of them jumped to the conclusion of, oh, well, now this means that there's potential for a sequel to the 2017 Power Rangers movie because Lionsgate did that. They now own E1. E1 was handling Power Rangers, so 1 + 1 = 2, according to these people. Which 1 + 1 does equal 2. I'm not going to do a revisionist history of math, but as well and good as that is, and as much as I'd like to see my various multiverse wives, be it Naomi Scott or Becky G, reprise their roles.
Double click.
yeah. As much as I'd like to see them reprise their roles, the importance of reading is highlighted here because in that same announcement, it says that Hasbro will retain the entertainment and development of entertainment rights to their what they call family brands, which Power Rangers is a part of. So unless Hasbro turns to Lionsgate and says, hey, I want to produce a sequel to that movie from 2017 that didn't make enough money to jump on a sequel right away anyway, and Lionsgate says yes, this doesn't automatically mean that that anything's happening on that front.
Right.
So I'd hate to shatter those dreams, but that's the reality of the situation. Again, I'd like to be proven wrong, and if tomorrow they announce that once the strikes are over, they're going to go into production on a sequel, would I watch it opening night? Yeah, absolutely. I'll be right there. But, so if I'm wrong, I'd be happy to be proven wrong. But somehow, on that front, I don't think I am. What I think is important is that two executives that were working on the Hasbro stuff while it was at E1, one of the two was of which was working on the Jonathan Entwistle Power Rangers, has shifted over to this new division at Hasbro Entertainment or whatever they're calling it. I think that's what they're calling it. Presumably, he will continue his duties working on Jonathan Entwistle's Power Rangers. But as often is the case, the Power Rangers fandom got all concerned and worried, and the sky is falling. Because in the list of brands that fall under this new division, in a tweet, keep in mind, in a tweet, Power Rangers was not there. Well, folks, do you know how many brands Hasbro owns? If they wanted to put them all in a tweet, they'd run out of characters. I mean, am I being too positive in saying that? Like, am I too much glass half full, or is that reasonable to like? Is that a reasonable assumption to make? It's like they just didn't list all the brands. Like, relax. I don't know. Are you along the same lines as my thinking?
Yeah, I mean, I think what it could essentially mean is like the brands that were listed are just top priority, maybe like at the moment, like in the near distant future. Like maybe the Power Rangers thing is just a little bit too further down the line, so they don't want to obviously name anything that's going to be happening anytime soon. Whereas all those brands are kind of stuff that's, stuff that like is in the pipeline. So it makes sense to want to market that, hey, this is what's coming soon. Like in a way, like Transformers, you're getting another Transformers movie.
Yeah.
So it makes sense to obviously market that. That's
we know
top
it's already
priority
been
for Hasbro.
announced formally.
Yeah.
That we're getting a Dungeons and Dragons TV show, an animated series, or whatever it is. I think it's animated. I don't think it's live action. I think it's animated. But
yeah, there's a new animated Transformers next year, so that makes sense.
And the other thing too is we still have Cosmic Fury, the final season of Power Rangers, as we know, the previous iteration of the franchise is coming out in September.
Right.
For them to formally say, and here comes the reboot on such and such a day.
Mm-hmm.
Look, guess what that's going to do? We've seen exactly what that's going to do. Because we've seen it on the DC side of things. James Gunn, and I'm not blaming him, he was pressured into announcing this probably, or urged to announce it sooner, announced the DC reboot in December. And since that announcement, what has happened to every DC Studios movie release since that announcement?
Yep.
The box office hasn't been there. Why? Well, partially is because I think people's viewing habits in general have changed. Whether certain box office pundits online want to admit that or not, I think that's a fact. The other thing is when you tell people, hey, we're doing a reboot, their automatic instinctive reaction is, oh, so this other stuff that you've got going on doesn't count. Right. So why am I going to go to the theater and pay, $50+ for a night out, including food, tickets, et cetera, or more, if this crap doesn't matter? Maybe Hasbro saw that and said, for the sake of ratings and toy sales for Cosmic Fury, let's not really give too many details about the reboot just yet. So I think there's an element of that to it. There's also, all we could do right now is this, because apparently I was reading a story a couple of weeks ago where Jenny Klein was on the picket line, because of the writer's strike, and a fan, because regular Joe Blows can go picket and show support as well, and a fan went and was picketing where she was and asked her about the Jonathan Entwistle and her Power Ranger reboot, and she says it's still in active development, and hopefully after the strikes are wrapped up, we can get back to it.
Yeah.
So as of right now, that's the only official stance that we have on it.
Mm-hmm.
That's what you take at face value. Everything else is all speculation. And when scoopers pop up and say, this is dead, that is dead, listen, scoopers they're trying to get it. You can't get, unless it's coming from an official source, don't take everything you hear from everywhere on the internet as at face value. Like, it's just, it isn't, so there's that. The other thing is it possible that, while the strikes are going on, the team at Hasbro concoct something else that isn't the Entwistle thing that they think is a better option? Sure, that's possible. And if that happens, then so be it. We'll hear about it and we'll change course.
Right.
The other reason why fans are panicking is because it seems like we're going to get a break from the toy line. So the Lightning collection has been put on pause after the remainder of the stuff that they have scheduled for this year's it comes out. But again, there's a reason for that. They've been having production issues, number one.
Inflation. Yeah.
So they're going to fix all that.
Mm-hmm.
Number two is they've sold so many Power Rangers toys that they're literally like, what are they going to produce? Like what more? Like if they retread stuff that they've already produced and repackage it and just change something here or there, fans are going to complain. Well, I already have this. What do you give this to me again?
All right.
So if there's going to be a little bit of a break after Cosmic Fury in terms of something on television or the movies, what are you going to sell? So it makes sense to take a break.
Yeah.
But again, we're talking about an IP that Hasbro paid millions, if not billions of dollars for. They're not just going to pack it up in a box and say, all right, we're putting it on the shelf and you're never going to hear from it again.
There's always going to be action figures. Don't worry.
The 30th anniversary is a swan song. We're never going to do anything again. It's not going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
If anything, there's a small break. I don't know. That's my take on all this. What's your take, Zed? What's your overall?
Yeah, I mean, like, obviously, like, the overall take is that I think it's mainly just frustration on all sides of things, which is a frustration for almost everything in Hollywood right now. As you reiterated multiple times, there's a strike going on that's literally prohibiting everything from moving forward at the moment. So, of course, things that were already kind of moving at a snail's pace are kind of moving at an even more snail's pace. So it makes sense to want to voice your frustration a little bit. But look, I mean, all good things, come to those who wait, right? So in the end, I definitely think this is it's gonna happen. It's just gonna take a little bit longer. But I think good things are coming. It's just taking a little bit longer to get there. But I get it, but I think we have nothing to worry about.
Yeah, I get the frustration because, hey, listen, Superman casting was in full swing before the strike, and now we've heard nothing, and so that frustrates me. Right. But as well, but by the same token, there's a difference between frustration and, oh my God, the sky is falling, the brand is dead completely.
That's fine.
Just breathe. Inhale, exhale. The Power Rangers will live on in some way, shape, or form.
Right.
There's too much. Even if the money is sort of lesser than it was, there's still too much potential money to be made for a corporation to say, "No, we're done."
Right.
So and
if, trust me, Lionsgate and Netflix are doing fine. Don't worry.
and if that ever becomes the case, they'll sell it to a company that thinks there is money to be made off of it. Right. So at the end of the day, Power Rangers will endure. It just may, be a while before we hear anything.
Right.
The only other way
next year.
Yeah. And the only other way we can cure that, well, I don't want to wait for news. Get a job at Hasbro and see if they'll let you in on the meetings. That's the only other option.
Get a sales job.
What are we going to do? That's the only other. Listen, we can only, on this side of the fence, we can only wait for the information to come. We can't force them to give it to us, because if I could force them, I'd call Jonathan Entwistle right now and say, "What's the deal, man?" And I'd call James Gunn on, I'd video chat him on Threads, Instagram, Twitter, all the social medias, and say, "Okay, right, who else have you cast?" Unofficially, just tell me. I won't tell anybody. But listen, I don't
off
have
the record.
Yeah, but these aren't things within my power. So what do I have to do? Well, in the meantime, I'm going to read awesome Power Ranger comics. How about that? That's what I'm going to do.
It's a great idea.
And we have lots of them. And that's actually the main meat and potatoes of our show today, is the comic book, specifically part 2 of the crossover between the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. So what we're going to do right now is take a quick break. On the other side of that break, Zeddy and I will come back and talk part 2 of this great crossover. So stay tuned. We'll be right back.
What's up, everyone? It's the Emerald Enthusiast, For all of your multiverse viewing and listening needs, check out our shows, which include Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Ghostbusters, Power Rangers, the Marvel Universe, and the DC Universe, including the Emerald Echo podcast. You can check us out on Podbean, and remember to subscribe right here on YouTube. That's the Multiverse Musings Podcast Network. From the first podcast to the last.
And we're back. And as promised, we're going to talk MMPR TMNT 2, the comic. But during our news segment, I forgot to mention something. Remember when I mentioned that Cosmic Fury still had to come out? Well, it's coming out September 29th, exactly on Netflix. And a really cool thing is that David Yost, a.k.a. Billy Cranston, who we saw in Once and Always, is going to be part of the Cosmic Fury cast. And we're going to see him suit up. And the reason why I do that is because most of the time when they suit up, it's a stunt actor. But you get the whole point.
Yeah.
But Billy Cranston is back once again, and I just love that. I'm glad Billy's getting a resurgence because the guy deserves it.
Yeah.
And you know, he wears blue and white, the colors of my favorite hockey team. So I always have a soft spot for Billy. But yeah, so I'm going to check it out because I want to watch the last traditional season of Power Rangers before whatever comes next comes. You know, I'm curious to see it and see how it all comes about and take things from there. But that'll be something to look forward to again on September 29th, as I pointed out. Now let's get right into it. The sequel to Mighty Morphin Power Rangers Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. We have Ryan Parrott back to write, and Dan Mora, who has become one of my personal favorite artists in the modern era, especially with his stuff on at DC and Superman and Batman Superman World's Finest, which is still the best book I've ever read. You know, in the past 18 months, it's the best book every month. He's back to Power Rangers. He wasn't part of the first one, I don't think, but he's back to write this one, or to draw this one. Sorry, and I think that's great because I like I said, I love his art. But all right, Zeddy, give us a brief. I think we'll do them all in one. Like we'll do it all as one story because that's what it is.
Yeah.
So, just give us a brief rundown on what's going on in this particular 5-issue series.
Yeah, so obviously, as you mentioned, this is obviously a sequel to the first set of one, which is Mighty Morphin Power Rangers and TMNT. Highly recommend that if you guys haven't checked that out, of course. So this one kind of picks up literally like right at the events as the book ended in the first one. So it's Shredder's kind of off in Dimension X. The Turtles and the Power Rangers kind of went their separate ways, but there's still some kind of interaction between them. And kind of, lo and behold, we get the Casey Jones kind of thrown in the mix here. And he obviously gets captured. And the thing with this one is kind of like the ongoing story of is Casey Jones brainwashed? Because now he's working with Rita Repulsa, but there's obviously maybe something going on there. So it's pretty much like if you love the first one, it's just a continuation of that. So this one's kind of the events of leading up to obviously the inevitable return of Shredder, and obviously taking down the evil forces that are trying to invade that is Dimension X.
Yeah. Interestingly, I like how we just started the book, and it's, as promised at the end of the first one, the Power Rangers and the Turtles are hanging out in Angel Grove, right?
Yep.
And in order for the Turtles to go out in public, Billy and Donatello have worked on this sort of identity, a device that can alter the Turtles' identity to make them look human, which I thought it was really, really cool. And again, it gives the Turtles a chance to experience everyday normal human activities, which is something that they're not privy or accustomed to. So that was cool. And then the technology gets a little bit wonky, and you could kind of see, I think it was Donatello's hand. Briefly. So they cut short their time at the juice bar to figure it all out. So I just like that that interaction of something as simple as going to the juice bar and hanging out with your friends. I thought that was a cool thing. Cool payoff to what the promise was at the end of the first one. The sort of then seeing how like the big the whole meat and potatoes of the book unfold, where villains are going missing, turtle villains are going missing, and it's a Power Ranger that's doing the abducting, is interesting. So we get a big there was the big fight at Strikers that had the Turtles, Casey Jones and the Rangers against Goldar, Baxter Stockman, I think it was Scorpino was in there. Just Bebop and Rocksteady. So it's this massive fight, right? As they're trying to break out Baxter Stockman, and then comes the revelation that Casey Jones betrays the turtle, and is Ranger X, as they call him. So apparently Twitter has its own Power Ranger now. But it was Elon Musk. He confirmed Elon Musk cast in the adaptation of this book. So
only his colors were black and white.
But I actually wasn't. I was legitimately shocked when this happened, because when he got knocked out, when he was it was on the roof with Karai, and then he got knocked out. It doesn't show you what happened to him, and then he just appears again, and it's like my mind didn't go to, okay, they captured him at that moment in time.
Right.
It was just all right, whatever. And then so I wasn't expecting anything, and then I was like, oh, this is shocking. Like I was legitimately shocked. I don't know about you, but I was.
No, it was I mean, like the design was really cool too. Like it wasn't I wasn't really expecting it to myself. Especially because was Casey Jones in the first one too? So he kind of just pops up.
Not really. I think he had a small cameo, but that was
small cameo at the end too. I mean, it is kind of like a little exposition where it's like, he gets captured. So I don't know, maybe he's held somewhere. Maybe they're just keeping him away from the Rangers and the Turtles. I wasn't really expecting they'd actually turn him into a kind of like a quote unquote evil Ranger per se. But we've seen it before. When Robin was Red X, remember that thing. So that was pretty ambiguous. On the Teen Titans side of things. So kind of taking a little bit of inspiration from there, but it makes sense too to obviously want to use Casey Jones as a foil for the Turtles too, because the Rangers are so powerful at this point that it's what are the Turtles really going to battle? So I like it on one side of things, but I totally agree with you. It did kind of just come out of left field a little bit, but I think they pull it off.
Yeah, no, they pull it off, but I was just shocked that it happened. I wasn't expecting it. It was it wasn't something that I telegraphed where it's okay, this is what they're going to do in the sequel. They're going to turn Casey Jones, on the Turtles.
Right.
So I wasn't singling it out as a bad thing. I was just generally shocked that I was surprised to see it, which is a good thing. If I can't telegraph what's going to happen in the comic, that's a bonus. You're doing a good job with the story. And it's funny because they bring up all that. They're like, well, maybe he's brainwashed, right? And Rita's done that before. And then Raphael's like, well, what do you mean? And he's getting all as Raphael does, is getting all pissed off about it because his best friend has been kidnapped. And Tommy explains the whole Green with Evil scenario where she used magic and kidnapped him, and Raphael's like, well, you're still here, and you're normal, like you're good again. So what did you do to the thing to to break free of the spell? And she's like, well, she puts a spell on something that a totem or something of yours that is of value to you. And that's when they come, just break one of his most valuable hockey stick and he'll be fine.
Yeah.
But I liked the callback to Green with Evil there, like the reference.
Yeah.
And I like that while they're more friendly now, there's still that sort of competition and heatedness between Raphael and Tommy. Like they're still going at it, in that sense.
Right. Yeah.
And I also liked earlier on, just slightly before that, when Leo and Jason were training, and they're talking about how they'll never admit certain things to Raphael or Tommy because otherwise they'll never live it. They'll never hear the end of it.
Yeah.
That's the kind of stuff that I dig. Right, I really like. And so that was cool, I thought.
Yeah. Also, and I love how they were almost mimicking, like when Leonardo was like, "How come you always yell when you fight too?" Like it's kind of like little stuff like that.
Yeah.
How they were like bringing up like you always grunt when you fight. You always do that. Like little stuff like that. I think is pretty cool to acknowledge too.
Yeah, the cool little references. I like. So one of the bigger end game for Rita is that she's teamed up with Krang, and so what they're trying to do is disrupt basically it's called the power node, which is sort of channels the energy of the Morphin grid and allows the Rangers to tap into it and use it and this and that. So they're trying to damage that, and then so this way they'll neutralize the Rangers, and hey, we could take over the world as these two villains are wont to do. And so there's this full-scale attack on two fronts. One of Angel Grove, where half of the forces are attacking the city, and the other half led by Casey, who comes out and says he's not brainwashed at this point. Is leading an assault on the command center to try and damage that power node and sort of take out Zordon and everything else. The Rangers actually do something really cool, which is they enable shadow morphing, I think it's called, which allows the turtles to morph into Power Rangers as well. So now we have two sets of Power Rangers. The Turtle Power Rangers and our Power Ranger, the regular Power Rangers. And it was really cool to see them side by side in the same colors and battling and all that
Mutant
stuff.
morph.
Yeah. Zach and Donatello, I think, were the black.
Yeah, because Michelangelo was with. I want to say he's with Billy, right?
No. Leo's with Billy because it's blue. Yeah. Michelangelo's with Trini.
So Zach is with Michelangelo then. Yeah.
No. Michelangelo's with Trini.
Oh yeah.
Zach is with Donnie.
I was misreading from the first one. Yeah.
Because remember, he says to Donnie, Zach says to Donnie, because one of the monsters is a reptile.
Right.
Or an alligator or something. And he says something, he's like, what? Why? What's that supposed to mean? You think all reptiles are the same or something like that? Yeah. So there was that funny joke in there that they made fun of. And then, of course, for me being me, seeing two Pink Rangers, both.
I was just going to say.
Kimberly and April. I got to say, if there is a me inside of this comic universe, I wish he had a cameo just walking on the street, with a pen in hand, writing something down and clicking the pen. Somebody's gonna put that in a comic, damn it! I want to see it.
I still think it's weird that she's like a Pink Ranger, even though her costume is essentially yellow. But that's fine.
Yeah.
It is what it is.
But yeah, give me a team up of Kimberly and April anytime.
I'm sure that's a 6-issue run you would subscribe monthly to.
Oh, absolutely. That should be a Netflix special starring Megan Fox as April O'Neil from the 2014 movie, and Naomi Scott from the 2017 movie. There's your moneymaker, Netflix and Hasbro. Just gave it to you guys. There's the moneymaker.
Nice.
But so yeah, I like the whole team up in the battle of the two sets of Rangers. But the interesting thing is, Rita and Krang's plan temporarily succeeds. They damage the power node, and then all of a sudden, the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers and the Turtles don't have access to the Morphin Grid anymore.
Mm-hmm.
The Turtles are fine because they're still the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, so they can go about their business. But the Power Rangers are teenagers with attitude, and that's about it. So, once their power has been neutralized, Bebop, Rocksteady, and Casey Jones are about to destroy Zordon and his tube, and then in comes Shredder and helps the Turtles sort of beat back the opposing forces enough just to get away and regroup. Me being an old school wrestling fan, Shredder jumping in to save the day. And I'm not saying this character was a villain, but this is what it reminded me of. I think it was WrestleMania. If I remember my WrestleManias correctly, I think it was WrestleMania 8 where there was the scenario where Hulk Hogan was tied in the ropes and he was getting double teamed by Psycho Sid and Papa Shango and whatever. And then out of nowhere comes the Ultimate Warrior, who has been gone for years, running to the ring and saving his ass.
Yeah.
I got those vibes from Shredder's intro into the book, which is pretty cool. And of course, nobody trusts him because he's Shredder.
Right.
So even after the fact, they're like, well, what's your deal? So then it's discovered that the only way to sort of restore the power node is to rebuild one, and the only place that there's the technology to do that is in Dimension X. So a selection of the Turtles and Shredder head off to Dimension X, while a selection of Turtles and the Mighty Morphin Power, the teenagers without the powers, stay back and have to deal with whatever attacks may come to Angel Grove. Here's where things got really interesting, and again, this was a direction that I wasn't expecting of the book. Billy and Donatello again concoct a solution to the teenagers' problem of not having their powers.
Yep.
Well, the Morphers still work; they just can't tap into the Morphin Grid. But we've rejigged them to be able to transform us into what the Turtles are, which is mutants. So Jason, Zach, Trini, Tommy, Billy, Kimberly morph and take the form of the creatures that make up their Zords. So they are literally humanoid, a humanoid Tyrannosaurus Rex, a humanoid pterodactyl, a humanoid dragon. We've got a humanoid saber-toothed tiger, a humanoid mastodon, and Triceratops.
Yep.
I gotta tell you, I was shocked by this, but the art by Dan Moore looks so badass. I was like, okay, this is cool. This is cool. Like it was really badass. I thought it looked great. What'd you think of that moment? Were you expecting it? What'd you think?
No, I mean it definitely threw me off guard. This idea of like a mutant gen being introduced in like the sequel kind of like feels right too. Like like how, like in the first one, they were able to make the turtles and the Power Rangers. So in the sequel, it kind of makes sense to, flip it and obviously make the Rangers into kind of like, not sense essentially turtles themselves, but they get to kind of like mutate themselves and kind of throw a wrench into that one too. First things foremost, too, I love again the inclusion of Shredder in this, like the way that he's
Yeah.
introduced here. It's the class of like the enemy of my enemy is my friend.
Yeah.
And then you're waiting the whole time, like Shredder's gonna turn on him, like you just do, because like that's his MO. He's just gonna use them till he can eventually turn on him, and spoiler alert, he never does, which is fascinating. I thought
no, but he hints that he will.
Well,
like he tells them, I will.
Like he helps them, but then he goes back to being Shredder, obviously, in the end. But like in terms of like finishing the mission and not turning on them, that part I thought was really fascinating too. The idea, I agree with you, man. The art, it looks so cool, man. Like it does, like it definitely threw me a little off guard. There's even like a little spoiler too later down the line where like they actually like how it feels.
Yeah.
Like while they were like they're humanoid Zords essentially too. Like I think it was Kimberly and Tommy. They were like when they were like at the juice bar towards the end, and they were like, I kind of like that feeling of power essentially. Like it felt kind of
Kimberly's
cool.
big thing was now instead of flying everywhere, I have to walk to class.
Yeah.
Right?
So I really like that angle too, and like it just feels comic booky too. That's the only
Tell Kimberly I'll carry her to class. She doesn't have to walk anywhere. Just to say the word and we go.
Shocker.
Yeah. But no, it feels so comic booky, but it's so perfect. It's like,
it fits too. That's the other thing.
Yeah.
It fits.
All I kept saying was, man, a direct to Blu-ray animated like adaptation of these two books would make money.
Yeah. Oh, it would absolutely work perfect as like an animated movie. Like by and large, it absolutely. They ever decided to do it.
I just think it would be ingenious. But what I liked about it too was that initially when it happens, like the Rangers in their new form are out of their element. Like they're confused. They're like they have to relearn everything, how to move, how to how to fight, how to this and so everything their state of being has to like their mindset about who and what they are has to change because they're literally and I like that it was Splinter like guiding them through this because he had done that with the Turtles all those years ago when they changed. So like I like the symmetry there, like and before this happens I want to point out the conversation between Splinter and Zordon about how they both feel bad for thrusting them the Turtles and the Rangers into a life of battle and making them soldiers when they really just wish they'd be able to let them be kids. And that kind of conversation kind of highlights the point that these two people are more than just mentors. They're fathers to these kids. And so I really like that conversation between the two. But I really did like the Splinter being the one to tell the Rangers how to adapt and show them the way, right? That was really cool. Back in Dimension X, it's revealed that there were Dimension X Rangers, and there are broken morphers there that the Rangers find. And once they rebuild and power up a new power node, that activates these morphers, which allows the Turtles to morph into Dimension X Rangers, which was really cool. Throughout, I like the design. I think it looks really cool. It looks. You know what it is? You know why it works? Because it looks similar to what we're used to, but it's vastly different at the same time.
Right.
And I think I'm not saying that whatever the reboot ends up being should just make Dimension X, like make it look like Dimension X. But what I'm saying is that's the kind of tact they should take.
Mm-hmm.
Find that balance of visual similarities but being different at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
That's what they should take away from that. But so at one stage, Casey Jones revealed that he was actually an inside man and was working with Rita and Krang just to be able to help out the turtles. But then Rita and Krang figure him out, and they actually end up brainwashing him.
Right.
So there's the big battle between the turtles as Dimension X Rangers and Casey, right? And they eventually knock some sense into him. And then when they get back to Angel Grove, they're confronted with Krang commandeering the Megazord and using it as his body. Keep in mind the turtles are still in mutated form, and Rita being Rita, and so you've got to deal with Krang Megazord and making my monster grow and all that jazz. So everybody's like, we could really use the Dragon Zord right about now.
Right.
And Shredder pops up with a green morpher because of that shadow morphing, thing. He's like, I can do it, and he's having I've never seen Shredder have. That's the thing about this. He genuinely loves using the Green Ranger power. It's the only time I'll ever get to say this, but this is like Shredder if he was a kid on Christmas morning. Using that friggin' morpher is like the best thing he's ever done.
He's having a ball.
and so he morphs and calls to the friggin' Dragon Zord. But then the Rangers get more help because Zordon comes in and he's using the turtle. What the hell is it called?
Oh God, yeah. It's
the turtle. Let's call it the Turtle Zord for now. The
right,
giant metallic turtle. I forgot what it's.
Yeah, it's Zordon and Alpha. Yeah.
Yeah. So they're piloting it, and then basically the Dragon Zord and Turtle Zord join forces to battle Krang as Megazord. And then, of course, the Rangers and Turtles. There's a big action sequence. Turtles and Rangers, of course, win the day, right, and defeat Krang and Rita, and they ball them up in what we call the dumpster that Rita was in the first episode. They put her, and they put the Krang in there and send them off on their merry way. And then happens what you mentioned, where we see that they're back at the juice bar. The Rangers have their full powers back, and they're human again. And all four turtles are using that identity concealing technology to make them look human, which is really cool. So they're all. We actually see them sharing. A drink at the juice bar and just having fun, and that's when you have that scene where Tommy's like, I miss being able to breathe fire, and Kimberly's like, I miss flying and this and that. So they enjoy their time, their victory, and then we get like a little bit of an end credit sequence where
so cool.
Shredder's taking his seat on the throne on the moon. And he's got all of Rita's minions now answering to him. And then calls a meeting with a mysterious individual, asks to join forces to take over the world because his alliance with the Turtles and the Rangers is only temporary. Of course it was. And then the person that he was talking to says, he's listening and is revealed to be none other than Lord Zed. And it says the end with a question mark. All I can say It better not be the end because I want to see part 3 now.
Right.
After that ending.
Yeah.
But what do you think of how it all wrapped up? The third act, if you will.
Yeah, I mean, like the third act just feels like your typical and end of a Power Rangers episode, where it's like, the big battle, Power Rangers win, Turtles win, everybody lives happily ever after, and then it's on to the next big evil threat. The end credits scene, as we're calling it, again, it's just so cool, and it makes all the sense in the world that Shredder and Lord Zed would eventually team up, because I mean that duo, just thinking about that alone, is terrifying in and of itself, and I hope that we obviously see it pay off, because even then, again, what even part 2 proves is that there's just so much story that you can tap into. I mean, like, even like one Zed is like one day eventually deal with Zed. I mean, like, there's just so much other potential.
There's other turtle villains that we haven't.
There's other turtle villains. There's other Ranger villains.
Yeah.
I mean, like the potential is endless. So, obviously, it makes sense for Zed to obviously be the next threat, considering you've done with Rita, and you've done most of the turtle villains.
Yeah.
Between part 1 and part 2 now. So, hopefully it pays off, because I want to see it now.
I think with the way sales were for the first one, I have no doubt that this one sold well enough as well. I just think, we had said when we first read the first one that this was a crossover that just made sense, and was a no-brainer, and this one again proves it that it just feels right, like it just fits. And my only concern going into this one was the first one was so good.
Right.
How could they possibly
sequel
match or outdo that? And here I am to tell you that I think they did it. I think I think this one was better than the first. Just because, who would have thought of the Rangers actually morphing into mutants?
Yeah, in a way, it's more comic booky. I agree with that.
And it didn't dawn on me that that's what was going to happen. Like I thought, okay, look, they were going to have the Turtles pick up most of the slack, like they did in the first one, which would have made it a little bit. Had they done that again, it would have been a little bit lesser, in my opinion. But because they created this scenario where now the Rangers can morph into mutants, and both sides can have their moment to shine, more so in this one than the first one, because it was a lot on the Turtles becoming Rangers. That was the big sell, right? This just amplified everything and made it that much better. That at the end, both teams were doing their part to be victorious, right? So that just made it all the more fun and more cooler, because like you never get a sense that whoever your favorites are, whether they're the Rangers or the Turtles, or in my case both, one is never feeling shortchanged. There's enough story and there's enough for both sides to do that you don't feel cheated as a reader. So, and the art was just, again, was fantastic. Dan Mora is a modern day master. Like he just is. Like everything he tells. I don't know if have you seen some of his upcoming Nightwing, his variant covers? Oh my God, it's like, geez.
No, but I mean, like, just seeing what he's done with World's Finest. I mean,
now they're doing the Kingdom Come arc. Oh, those designs are so.
He is an artiste, as some may say.
Absolutely, he certainly is. His artwork here. I want them to make. I don't know if I'll buy them, but I want them to make toys of the morphed or of the mutant Rangers, like of the like those would be cool toys. I'm assuming that those are going to be a thing at some point. But yeah, I absolutely love this. So I guess is there anything else you want to mention, or we can go ahead and rate it?
No, that the other thing too that I want to mention is that just how breezy of a read that it felt too. I mean, I know you and I both talked to off air that we kind of both read this in like one sitting, and it definitely like reads that way too. So actually think the first part read pretty well too, and in sitting too. So again, just kudos to just how well paced the book is. It never drags on. It's pretty fast paced. It reads like a comic book too and looks like one. So if you're on the fence with this too, I think both of these, are like they flow really, really nicely into the next one. So
Yeah,
if you're curious, you can definitely absolutely read this within like an hour. I mean,
yeah,
like it's maybe even less than it really is. It's 5 issues, but it really flies by.
yeah.
So yeah, I think we can probably give her a rating, Adam.
And I recommend too, for those people that are worried about, you know, the future of Power Rangers, while you're waiting, if you haven't read volumes 1 and 2 of this, read it. You'll love it. And
Yeah.
while we're waiting for the next live action evolution of this brand, there are these wonderful Mighty Morphin Power Rangers comics, years worth, that if you haven't read them, they're there, be it digitally or, through your local comic shop.
Right.
If you haven't read them yet, take however long the hiatus is going to be, and dive in, because they're some of the best thing from the IP and mythology
I agree.
that you're going to find. So I can't recommend the comic books enough. But yeah, let's go ahead and rate it. So remember, for 5 for story and 5 for art. What do you got?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so for story, because it technically per se ends on a cliffhanger, I have this thing inside me where, as good as it may be, I can never really give it like that full scale
Okay.
rating. So the story is like a 4.5. What are we morphers? 4.5 morphers
Yeah.
out of
Okay. Yeah.
5.
Yeah. Yeah. 4.5 power coins. All right. There we go.
Four
Yeah.
four
Power
four
coins.
point five power coins out of 5. And the art for me is a 5 because I love the art. I mean, the Rangers look spectacular. The Turtles look spectacular. It's colorful. It's eye popping. It's what a comic book should be. So the art's a 5 and the story's a 4.5 for me. How about you?
Uh, I don't have that hang up with the cliffhanger.
Okay.
I mean, if it comes out that we don't get the third one, then I'm going to get pissed
Oh,
off.
yeah,
But I'm not going to hold it against this one, because if you take out that end tag, it does end kind of, they win the day, they're having a celebratory thing.
right.
So I'll give it 5 power coins out of 5 for the
Okay.
story. And the art, if I could give it more than a 5, I would. But it's a 5 power coins out of 5.
Nice.
I just want Dan Moore to draw everything at this point, even though he probably physically can't. But there is that. What a book! What a fun time!
Yeah.
I couldn't think of anything more enjoyable to be reviewing on or around the 30th anniversary than this, and I absolutely had a blast. And definitely bring on volume 3. There better be one, because you can't leave us hanging like that. So uh, give us more of the Power Rangers teaming up with the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. But that brings the episode to a close. We hope you're enjoying the 30th anniversary of Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. It hasn't come out at the time of recording, but there is going to be an anniversary special that at some point, as a special comic that at some point Nick and I will review. But in the meantime, while you're waiting for us to do that, if you want to get in touch with either of us about Power Rangers or anything else either of us talk about through social media, you can. Zeddy, where do they track you down?
Yeah, I guess I'm on Twitter or X, whatever the hell it's called these days.
Yeah.
I am just at Nick Zennick. I do have a letterbox where I review film and TV shows, mainly films. That's at Zeddy Films. And I also would like everybody to give the show that I co-host, that's at Vigilante 1939. It's a DC, Marvel, Star Wars, pop culture leaning podcast. Where as of this recording, we have just dropped our Blue Beetle review. So go give that a listen. It's available anywhere you find your podcasts at. And go give Box Office Beyond a follow as well on Twitter. That is a show that's coming out in the near fall, where myself and a co-host, Carlos from the Nerd Room podcast, are
Yeah,
going to
he's
break
also a
it down.
co-host on this network too.
A
with
co-host
Star
on
Trek.
this network as well.
Yeah.
So we're going to be breaking down some box office analytics, just on box office, to come. So we're targeting a fall release, so just stay tuned for that. But the account itself is up on Twitter, so go give it a follow and stay tuned. Thank you.
Awesome. And definitely check out all those different avenues where you can catch Zeddy, because it's all good stuff. If you want to chat with me, it's at Adam_Leafsfan on Twitter or Dimension X or whatever the hell it is now. And then we also have a page for on that platform for the podcast network at MMNPTC. We have a Facebook group which is listed in the description below. Click that, I will add you, and we can continue the conversation there. But until next time, remember, the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and Mighty Morphin Power Rangers are forever, from the first morph to the last. So long, and cowabunga.